Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. How are we getting on? Welcome to a brand new camp build. And this week, I thought, as we've got a couple of new Hellcats items in the atomic shop, let's do a Hellcats themed build. So, let's get cracking. Okay then, so yeah. We've got a couple of flags added to the atomic shop this week that are Hellcats themed. I thought it'd be a good place to start out for a build. We're going to go with an abandoned gas station that they've taken over and are using as an outpost near Watoga. So this is where we are, as you can see, just up the road from Watoga there, just a little to the north. If you follow the freeway that heads up towards the abandoned bog town, you'll find it. Watoga just to the south of us there. There's Veiled Sundew Grove and Quarry X3. So yeah, we're literally just outside Watoga, a little bit up from the crossroads as you head out of town to the north. So, beside the road here, over on the right-hand side as you're heading north, there's a few open areas. We've got a little tunnel network under this sort of freeway that sort of starts where we are here. So we're just sort of above that. And there's a nice big flat area beside the road here, so a good spot for a gas station. And we're going to get some foundations in first to build the forecourt. So my first thought was to build a little closer to Watoga, just trying to incorporate it in with the Hellcats being sort of based there. But unfortunately the spot I had in mind was kind of a nightmare to build with. There were things that would bulldoze but then wouldn't allow you to place foundations down because it thought they were colliding, so it didn't work quite well. But a little further up the road, about 50 yards or so, we find this spot, so this worked out quite nicely. So this forecourt area is going to be a 4x4 square of foundations. You see we're just dropping it down a little bit there, so it's as close to level with the edge of the road as possible. Unfortunately it's not perfectly level anyway, so gotta make do with being close enough. But I've started with a 4x3, but as we'll see in a moment, it's not quite large enough. So we'll get this red rocket prefab in, just on the left here. One good thing about it is if you've got the foundations in, as long as you can see down the side of it, you can line it up nice and easily. If you can't see what you're doing with it, then the collision box acts a bit weird. But from the sides here, looking along the front edge of it, you can generally get pretty darn close to the foundations. So just back a bit there. There we go. You can see we are nicely lined up there. A tiny little bit more of an adjustment maybe. Bring it back a little bit. Because it's a bit finicky to place sometimes, but it's mostly down to the size of the thing. With a little bit of trial and error, we can get them to about the right height. There we go. Nothing floating, so that looks good. Obviously this needs to be a little bigger, this forecourt area, so we're going to add another row on here, which is what's going to take it to the 4x4. I'll have to move that camp unit in a moment. And then we can start adding on the extra foundations for the side and back areas, which are going to be kind of a warehouse type vibe, and then a shop as well. So on the right there, we're going to have it go back what will be two extras on the foundation. So it'll be a 3x2 on the side there. On this back edge, it'll be a 4x2. So this one will go all the way along the length of the back. You can see we're left with a sort of cutaway corner there. That'll be around the back of the camp. You won't really see that. So we'll see the layout there where the rooms will be. So we'll get some walls in so I can kind of eyeball what I'm doing now. That's going to be the edge of the sort of warehouse that will basically be converted into a barracks for the Hellcats people who are going to be here. So on the front here, we're going to have a shop, or what was the gas station shop. It's basically going to be abandoned because we can't really do a particularly good job of decorating it, so you'll see what I mean when we come to the tour, but the place wouldn't be complete without it. So we'll swap these warehouse walls out for the stone ones, the brick ones rather, just to make it look a little bit more interesting, mix up the textures a little bit, make the thing look a little bit more permanent. I like having the high windows across, so I don't know if it's really a feature in US gas stations, but petrol stations in the UK are often designed like that. So that should work out okay. We'll get some stone walls in at the back there. Swap these out for windows so they can overlook the forecourt a little better. I'm actually going to board those windows up, but it'll give it that more ramshackle sort of abandoned gas station that got taken over by the Hellcats vibe. Some windows on the outer edge here. I'll board those ones up later as well. And some closed ones on each end. There we go. That's the basic layout in place. Got a few bits more to do though. So, first thing, I wasn't sure whether or not I was going to put a roof over the forecourt or not. Wasn't sure how it would look and stuff, but actually I think it does look better, so we're going to do that. Just going to use these flat ones, start on the inside there, and then we can just extend out. As it turns out, as we notice here, Oh look, it'll actually go under the lip of the red rocket roof there, which I didn't think it was going to do. So it turns out, works just fine as long as it's high enough, which apparently it is. So we'll fill this entire area up there. Going to leave this front section without the roof over it, because it just kind of works. Plus, if a truck's pulling in, it's going to need a little bit of extra clearance, so it makes sense from that point of view as well. Not that there'll be any trucks pulling in, but prior to its abandonment, there might have been. So we'll get some roofs over these sort of interior spaces. These ones are going to be angled, whereas obviously the forecourt just needs to be flat. I did think about dressing up the roof of the forecourt a little bit more, but I didn't want to do exactly the same thing that quite a few other people have done, so rather than just sort of copying straight off somebody else, I decided not to do it. We'll close up these gaps. For some reason it was being a bit finicky today doing this one. Don't know why. But we'll get there in the end. Nice. Go on over to the shop, and I'm going to go the other way around. We're going to go along the length of this one, just to make the shape a little bit different, a little bit more interesting. So, a couple on the end there. Obviously this means we're going to have to go and add extra angled roofs on the top there, which means we need walls in first in order to support that first roof section. So we'll get those put in. We can use the warehouse walls here just on the front so that we can mix up those textures once again. Up in there. And another angled one on the top when it wants to play a ball. There we go. That around. And now we can get the roofs in, or the upper section of them in. Bring that back. Apologise for going slightly dark. I got a little bit distracted by the building and didn't keep an eye on how light it was, but I think we can see okay, so it should be fine. And now we've just got this back section to close up, and I'm going to use the brick pieces for this so it's a bit more consistent along the back. But I don't know what you call it. The edge on the walls there is a bit annoying for this sort of thing, but once you get wallpapers in there, it won't be too much of a problem. It'll hide it okay. It's not ideal, but it'll do. And there we go. That is the core structure, really. Not too difficult at all. You can see we've got that gas station vibe. It's a little bit more enclosed than a gas station would generally be, I think, but it works. Once we dress it up, it'll look like the Hellcats have really taken over and made it their own for this little outpost. So we use the old technique to get the pillar there to connect to the corner of the foundations. Obviously, they want to snap in the middle, so staircase and a couple of floors to snap it to that, and then it forces it onto the corner. Once again, we'll flip it round. This one I want in the middle. So, staircase, floor, flip that floor around, and now we'd snap it onto the corner of the foundation again, and it will be central to the roof now. There we go. Nice. Now, I want to put another one in the corner on the right, but unfortunately the wall of the warehouse building here doesn't quite allow us to do that. So, I did give it a go, but unfortunately, because that wall is there, it's a no-go. Sometimes you can actually get it to work. I think if you put the pillar in first and then snap the walls in afterwards, it would have worked. But I sort of didn't remember that until after I figured it wasn't going to work, so it's fine anyway. So the last major thing we need to do is head to the side of this prefab, the red rocket one, and get a stair set in up against this doorway. Otherwise, it's going to be quite a long drop out of there. So we're basically going to need a floating staircase for this, which kind of can be done. Or it can be done with the small ones, which is what we want anyway. So we'll line this foundation up first so we know where we want that staircase to actually sit. The thing you need to make sure you do is lift the foundation up a little higher than you would normally. Get it lined up so it's in the right place, and then just pop it up a bit higher than the prefab, because the stairs snap below the height of the foundation. So there's effectively one more step up onto the foundation, but with the prefabs that just looks too low, so I need to nudge it up a little bit, which we'll do in a minute. But now we've got this lined up, we'll snap another foundation on the back, and then swap this front one around behind it, because we do need two foundations. I'll deal with a Radrak attack, and then we'll pop the stairs on the end here. Now when we take this first foundation out, it should be in the right place, but it's a bit low, so I'm going to nudge it up a little higher first. There we go. That should be fine. Nice. So now we pull the foundations out, and the staircase stays there, and we've just got to patiently maneuver this prefab back into place, which it will do. A lot of eyeballing required to make sure it's straight, and will sit nice and close to that staircase, but it will do it. The concrete one's a bit more awkward for some reason when you're trying to do this, so the wooden one is probably the way to go. We'll pull that back a bit. Should be close enough. A bit too far there. Let's have a look. Yeah, looks about right. Nice. Now we can just head nice and smoothly through the door. I did have to take the roof off here to get this in, so we'll just snap that back, and we'll head to the tour. So there we go. Structure done, decoration complete, and we have Hellcatified this former gas station that I'm figuring was abandoned pre-war, and then obviously the war happened, and then years later the Hellcats came in and took it over. We've got a fortified front aspect here, so they can kind of watch the road and see anybody who might be approaching their main base down in Watoga. Got a few Slocum's Joe bits and pieces as well. I would have liked to have had another Red Rockets sign of some kind on there, but we'll have to make do with what we've got available. Loads of little bits of fortification and trash pulled up, and we've got the concrete barricades, the raw concrete barricades from Hunt for the Treasure Hunter, which is back this weekend, so dive in on that if you want these barricades that are at the front here. They're a bit taller, but they work quite nicely, and a couple of guard posts as well. Going for the Red Rocket vendors to make sort of fuel pumps in here. Need vendors in anyway, and it makes sense to use the Red Rocket ones. A couple of mannequins there just to stand on guard duty, and a few extra bits and pieces that the Hellcats have dragged in just to make sure that this place is looking a bit more like it's been repurposed, with the tyres and stuff. We'll head into the gas station. Unsurprisingly, this is our crafting space. It tends to look best when used for that function. All the crafting benches we need in here, except one or two others that I've put outside. I was thinking about putting something on that shelf, actually. I was going to put a stash box on there, a tool chest of some kind, but unfortunately I forgot to do that. But we've got plenty around anyway. Couple of Hellcat power armors on stands. Finally remember to use those things. 2 is probably excessive for the size of the place, but it looks much better with 2 rather than 1. Odd numbers and all that. Just a random little generator in there to power them. Guess the Hellcats didn't bring a lot of power with them to this place, but a few little bits and pieces are here. So heading out of this door, we've got a little area out here that I've used as a bathroom and as a place to plant some crops. I picked up the barbed wire fences you can see there the other day from somebody's vendor, actually. They were part of the Holiday Scorched event. You could get them from the presents that you got dropped from the Holiday Scorched. I didn't manage to pick them up at the time, but somebody was selling them off cheap in their vendor, so I grabbed them while I had the chance. It looks pretty decent out there. I also put the chemistry station out there as well, because it wouldn't fit in the Red Rockets, at least not in a way that looked good, and it made sense to do your chem mixing outside anyway. So, as I said earlier, this shop area actually would be abandoned, and I'll show you what it's going to look like on stream and stuff and in future, but there's no sort of stock in there. There you go, got all the door boarded up and everything as well. But yeah, because there's no stock in there, and there's not really any way to make it look right, you can sort of get halfway there at best, but it's going to look weird. Plus I didn't have any way of putting vendors in here either, because I've used the limit outside. I've gone for the theory that this place was completely abandoned before the war, so all the stock's been stripped out, which is why it looks a little threadbare. That's my headcanon for it anyway. So you can see it does look like an abandoned shop. Some of the hardware's still in place, but they've taken all the stock out. Maybe I should have put a door in the back corner there, and then they could have had a storage room or something. Yeah, figured it's been abandoned and then boarded up, which is... I wanted to be able to show you around the inside so you can see what I've done, because you're going to be able to see it if you look through the windows, so I did want to put stuff in here, but I also wanted it to be sealed up and abandoned, so hence why I've shown you that little picture of the boarded up front door and the sign out front. Swinging back across, see I had a few little bits of decoration around here. I boarded up those windows as well, just to make sure they look a little bit more abandoned. Not quite ideal, but it works. I've boarded up these internal windows here, sort of internal facing windows I suppose, by using some of the responders signs, the plywood signs. They're in the atomic shop at the moment, so grab them while you can if you want them, because they're quite good for that. They're also good for junk walls and stuff like that. I didn't want the responders symbols showing though, which is why they're on the inside, because I can cover them up on the inside. Though I did need to double up on posters to do that, because weirdly the symbols painted on it kind of float over the plywood, so it's a bit strange. You don't notice most of the time, but when it actually comes to putting something on top of them, then you do. So this space I assume was either storage or some kind of workshop that has been converted into a barracks for the Hellcats who are hanging out here. Got a few beds, a few lockers to store their goods. It's a bit Spartan, but it is just an outpost after all, so that would make sense. There's the posters put up there just to cover up the responder stuff mainly, but it gives a splash of colour to the place as well. Limited power, which is why the lights are not on. I've got only a couple of generators that I brought with them. Well, the one generator. There is actually another one hidden away, but for the purposes of this, I thought just the one makes sense. I've just dragged it down from Watoga. They wouldn't want to carry too much with them. We'll head back on out. A little look around the last bit of the forecourt again. As I say, see, I put some of the concrete hedgehogs, whatever those little caltrop-like things are. They certainly had a little bit of extra texture as well. And I've just put the punji board down just to keep any wandering wasteland denizens, of which there are a few around here. That's one of the drawbacks to the spot from just running up into the middle of my camp. So there we go. Do hope you liked this one. If you did, please do consider dropping subs and likes. I do very much appreciate it. Do check out the social media links, merch store, and channel memberships, all available down below the video as well. I very much appreciate the support in that direction as well. And join us for live streams too. We are, of course, page 76, and we are playing Control as well at the moment, which has been good fun. But for now, thank you very much for watching, and I look forward to speaking to you all very, very soon.